Welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Post-game, Boston Bruins win in overtime over the Calgary Flames 4-3. Sometimes, Razor, these West Coast, and this isn't truly West Coast, this is Northwest, but these Northwest late-night games can be a pain in the you-know-what, a pain in the ass sometimes, especially when your team isn't doing well, or at least the result isn't great. This is one of the different ones, as the Boston Bruins, again, come back from two-goal deficits, and they win a very exciting game, a game where they were a better team for a lot more in this game than the Calgary Flames were. We'll get to that, and we'll discuss it. And the Boston Bruins now 2-2 on this 5-game road trip. Who the hell would have thought that? Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, brought to you by Fazenda, the coffee roasters that have been with us pretty much since day one. Make sure to go check out fazendacoffee.com/morningbrew. It's holiday time. Even though, Razor, you and I don't have the hats on, get your hat while they're hot. There's not many left. fazendacoffee.com/morningbrew. You can also order coffee. You can look for whole bean or ground coffee, whatever you want. They've got from light roast to very dark. fazendacoffee.com will serve you, and whether you are retail or wholesale, go check them out. Thank you to Fazenda Coffee for being our lead pod sponsor. All right, Razor. In the end, a fun game, bud. If you're a Bruin fan, a fun game, a game that there's no doubt about it that they earned. They absolutely earned in this one.
They did, and yeah, it was a nice, quick pace. Not a lot of whistles, of course. Only the one power play. The puck moved up and down the ice, and both, especially with Calgary's aggressiveness in the first half of the game, it made for late night entertainment. And then, of course, the Bruins continuing to stick to their process, stick to their game, continuing to stay positive and not get frustrated, especially going down 3-1. They did not deserve that. They might have deserved to go down 2-0 early in the second, but from then on, they dominated, and it was great to see them get the point, and then of course David finishing things off for them.
I did not like their first period that much. I know, you and I talked about it first intermission on Nesson, and you were okay with it. You didn't love it, but you're okay. They hadn't given up slot shots. Very kind of prescient type point that you made there. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Yeah.
But they were outshot 9-4, and I thought out-chanced, out-efforted at some point. I thought the Bruins were too much on their heels, partner. I thought they were too much along the wall and getting puck stripped from along. I think at least 4, if not 6 times did they get the puck taken from them in what I would call a dangerous area, meaning half well down low behind the net in their own zone, and that led to an opportunity for Calgary. While they didn't have prime chances from net front, there were still some good chances. But the Bruins in the first period, they did not come out anything like in their previous game, Razor, like they did in Vancouver. It wasn't even close.
No, not even close. But that's to be expected. Again, on the road, you're in Calgary for 4 days. You think about it from the other. If Calgary came in and had that period against the Bruins, you'd be like, Bruins might have missed a chance to score goals in that first. They should be up in this game. They let that team get in, and that's kind of what I was thinking. That they were just kind of hanging on and bend but don't break, and let them get some, football analogy, let them get some yards, but didn't give up any points. However, unfortunately, that carried into the second. They weren't able to change the script, and Calgary did for a shift and a half, did the same thing they did in the first, but got rewarded for it with those 2 goals.
All right, so end of the first period. Again, shots were 9-4 in favor of the Calgary Flames. No penalties taken. In fact, you already said it, partner. There was only 1 penalty taken all game. A marginal call at best. A penalty on Joe Hanley that, quite honestly, shouldn't have been called a penalty. It just shouldn't have. We both agreed on that one. The Bruins got lucky. But to start the second period, and I really thought the Bruins would shake off the Banff, the Cowboys rust, whatever you want to call it, in that wonderful city of Calgary. They didn't. 54 seconds in, Coronado, a kid who played at Harvard a couple of years, gets his 8th goal of the season. A rocket of a shot. Blake Coleman and backling it. It starts, though, it's more of a toe drag than anything, but it starts with Zadorov stepping up. We both felt too much. There's really probably no reason around the blue line. A move that Nikita Zadorov is not afraid to do, right? He likes to step up, but he gets beat by by the youngster entering the zone, and then eventually they work the puck to the middle of the ice, and Zadorov again can't close the gap enough because it's just got too much room. I don't remember how many feet, 18, 20 feet away from Swayman, maybe a few feet less, but Coronado makes it 1-0, 54 seconds in with a shot.
Yeah, it was frustrating because the Bruins actually the first 46
they were good the first shift.
Seconds,
yeah, you're right.
First 46 seconds was really good. They went down and they put the pressure on. Calgary counterpunched very quickly. McAvoy made a play, hits the referee in the corner, and then it just bounces out. And you're right, Zadorov was a little bit out of position there. Everyone kind of got out of position because the puck was going one way and it got pushed back the other. Coronado finds a hole through Swayman and frustrated 1-0.
All right, so you could feel Calgary feel good about themselves. As I'm talking about the goalie, and you brought up the Bruins actually did have a freaking dominant 40 seconds to begin that shift, period. I mean, it really was a good start, and that's where I thought that they would be all period. Only then to give up another goal, just 7 seconds later. Nazem Kadri with a rocket of a shot. This one was really a rocket from the mid-high slot area. His 12th goal of the season. Huberdeau and Pospisil on the assist. And again, though, the Bruins giving up Razor the middle of the ice in their own zone.
Yeah, and this one was the poorest of the plays all night for the Bruins because they had defensive zone. They were settled. They were in their spots, and they still gave up way too much room in the middle of the ice. Somehow didn't close, didn't collapse, didn't take care of that slot area. And Kadri, as usual, makes them pay.
Yeah, he loves playing the Boston Bruins.
Sure does.
And he's done some dumbass stuff against at times. Yeah. But on the other hand, he sure loves playing against them. Joe Sacco takes a timeout, rightfully so there. And let's talk about the timeout. To settle things down, to have a little chat. They're not playing the way they need to. And am I making too much of it in that his delivery? I mean, he just, he tells the guys, and I'm paraphrasing, what they need to get back to doing, what, more of their structure, protecting middle ice, that kind of stuff. But it's just the way that Joe is, I don't see him being a yeller at all. Right. No. I mean, we saw a very contrasting style with a guy like Jim Montgomery before that, I mean, he was very emotional, Jim, right? He'd hug you, but he'd also yell at you. But during some of these timeouts, he was very vociferous. You could see the fire, so to speak. Sacco, on the other hand, on this one, seemed very, not casual, but calm, very calm about it. Am I reading too much into it? But the delivery, it's really the message that's most important, but doesn't the delivery matter too?
Yeah, sure. The delivery, it definitely matters, and I think that's his delivery. That's what he does. He's not going to be any more than that. I can't imagine, like you say, he's not a yeller. He's not a guy who's going to fool anybody by being that yeller. So he knows this group, and he knows that they'll feel embarrassed by him calling a timeout on the road. That's there's a little bit of that players don't like that, and not like they don't like it that the coach does it. They don't like it that they put themselves in that position to have that called on them. And this group, especially with Brad Marchand and the leadership, are get the message without having too many words being said in that situation. And the message was received and turned around in that second period with it tonight.
Took a little bit to get going. Eventually they do, and it ends up being, I'll call it a breakaway. It's kind of a quasi, not really, but Elias Lindholm is going to get his 4th goal of the season. He eventually gets the puck coming down the left side. There's back pressure on him. It's a bit of a double kind of clutch play, which both you and I said on Nesson. We thought that it helped him in that regard, in that the goaltender, Dustin Wolf, perhaps thought Razor that he was going glove side, and you said instead it ends up going short side. But I forget the Calgary player that was coming back. Was it defenseman? I don't remember which.
It was Uyghur.
Was it Uyghur? Thank you. Coming back. But a right shot coming down the left side there does love thinking top glove. You love thinking that side because you can open your stick blade more and elevate the puck, and you can control it more. It's got a lot less opportunity to go on that short side, but because he double clutches, he's really forced to go short side, but you also think it threw the goaltender Wolf off just enough to have it go through him.
Yeah, he just opened up a little hole under his arm and definitely couldn't track it or find where the puck was because of it was just bobbling around. And when Lindholm doesn't know where it's going, then the goalie doesn't know where it's going
Yeah.
either. So it was the classic one of that. And Lindholm deserved it. Maybe hopefully that gets him going. That starts him up, getting a bit of a lucky break to actually fall his way. He hasn't had too many breaks go his way this season, and to get his fourth in Calgary is hopefully a catalyst for him.
He's not a very emotional guy, overtly emotional at least, but you could tell his happiness that he
Yeah.
scored going back there. He's been successful against the Calgary Flames, put up a point in every game. I think that he's played against them as a former Calgary Flame in the last year between Vancouver and Boston. This was the first game, though, that he put a point in on the road. All the other points had come as a home team that he had been on. So it's 2-1 at that time, and you're thinking like, all right, enough of it. You guys have been, now you've been good again. Get going. And the Bruins really took over. They controlled zone time. They were much cleaner, back to being very clean through the neutral zone, getting pucks in, using, just like the other night in Vancouver, back of the net, especially the Sacco line. They were excellent. Joe Sacco and his staff end up moving a tweak to they take Coyle off of the third line. They put him on the right side with Marchand and Lindholm. They move Brazeau down. I thought both really good, good things to do. And then, all of a sudden at 17-19 mark, there's an opportunity for the Calgary Flames, and it's a bit of a fluke bounce, a lucky bounce. The puck ends up going back to Ryan Lomberg, formerly the Florida Panthers, now of the Calgary Flames, and he gets his first goal of the season. He's on the left side, Razor. I'll let you describe it more, but it's a fortunate goal, and it could have been a real killer for the Bruins.
Yeah, at the time it felt like a killer because they had so much momentum, and it was just a fake or a shot that got partially blocked that ended up finding its way to the right of Swayman, where Lomberg was just kind of going to the side of the net or to the net for a rebound, and right on his stick. Couldn't have placed it any better for him, and he got his first of the season against the Bruins, which is always annoying, especially that guy. Nothing anyone could do. No one could have really played it any better. It was basically a 2-on-2, and just went didn't go the Bruins' way. And you're thinking, man, oh man, they did not deserve that. But on the road, and that's why we talk about these long road trips being difficult. The stuff like that happens when you're out on the road, and at the end of the second, I'm sure they're pretty frustrated with how much effort they put in to still be down 2 goals.
Yeah. They were doing a lot right. Connor Zary gets it, and Peltier the other assist. Zary and Peltier on the assist at the Lomberg goal, 17-19 to make it a 3-1 Calgary lead. The Bruins again with a chance. I can't remember who it was before heading into the third. Regardless, they're down 3-1, and you're like, oh man, you're trying to keep positive because you understand that you have a lot of time still. You do, but you're also saying, did they not take advantage of their goodness of that second period? But they do. They come out in the third and they get right back after it again. The line changes that were made for that, I don't remember the exact time it was, second, third period it happened. They end up doing something for the team. And the way that the Bruins continued to play a consistent brand of puck in, puck to the net type hockey, it ends up coming through. Let me just tell you, the second period shots were 12-9 in favor of Bruins, but even the chances were significantly in their favor. High danger chances, completely in the Bruins' favor, but they were down by 2. But then it's a goal for Morgan Geekie, Razor, 4:14 into the third period, his 6th goal of the season. After the Bruins really do a good rotational type offense, the puck gets worked from the left to the right. Peak comes from the right side down, so the engaged defender into the play. He's all of 4 feet from Dustin Wolf. The shot comes from the point. It was low-rise shot that comes through. Peak gets the rebound, puts it into the area, and then he can't finish it, but it caroms right over to Morgan Geekie, who's in the low slot area, and he puts in his 6th goal of the season.
Yeah, great goal. Great job getting pucks to the net. Peak's been really good the last 2 games on the trip, so he gets rewarded being down in front of the net. The rotation, David goes up over on the left side and rotates with Lowry, who hits it right away. 12 assists for Lowry. That's starting to sneak up on everybody, how many points he's accumulating. And this shot-first mentality seems to simplify him a little bit that Joe Sacco's trying to implement. and Geeky's starting to figure out being in front of the net and where to be, and it's starting to end up on a stick, and the opportunities that he's gotten not going in earlier in the season are starting to go in now, and that's a great sign for him. It's a great sign for the Bruins. He's starting to get to his pace, that 20 goal, 25. He's getting into that pace area right now, and really taking advantage of playing with Sacco, playing with Pasta. And again, when you get those opportunities, we talk so much about it, you make it count. It goes a long way. And Geeky's doing that right now. I just love these chaos goals that are out in front of the net. And the next one's very similar, where pucks and bodies are going to the net. It's really the way to grind away through the second half of the season.
Well, especially because against any team, getting to the front of that's huge. It's immensely important, but especially against a very aggressive-minded team, holding their own line, being aggressive in the neutral zone like Calgary, if you can get it behind them and then funnel it to the net, and they kind of play a similar defense that the Bruins do too, but if you don't allow them to get that set into their areas, that's when you can create the havoc. Geeky and his line mates do that. So 4-14, it's now 3-2, and you're like, great, you got a goal. We said it. I don't remember if we said it on air or not, but on air, we always said it off air in the green room. Get one in the first 10 and you could be all right. Well, they got one at the 4:14 mark, and then 2.5 minutes later, a little bit more than that, at 6:51 to be exact. Razor, you just talked about or alluded to it. It's Mark McLaughlin who gets his second goal of the season. Marchand and Lindholm on the assist. It was a change between the fourth line and we'll call him the top line and the Lindholm line. McLaughlin's going to end up, again, getting his ass to the front of the net. Marchand working it with Lindholm. Love the way that, again, nothing fancy, just a thing of beauty. And the Bruins at the 6:51 mark, Razor, tie it up at 3.
Yeah, and you said it in the post, that Lindholm with a great pass, taking a hit up to Marchand, and then he goes and changes, and that's how McLaughlin ends up on the ice. Brad does a great job holding on, possessing, recognizing, not just putting a shot on, not just dumping it, recognizing he was going to get some help if he can get to the back of the net, which he does. So hits it in the seam. McLaughlin gets fortunate that his one-timer doesn't get hit well, but it ends up out in front of the net, and Anderson can't control it, bobbles it a little bit in front of Wolf, and he goes to the net and gets a greasy one. So
he drives hard to the net.
Yes,
he put his nose right behind it and got his ass right in there. And you make a great point too, and I should have brought that up about the Lindholm pass, because that was neutral zone.
Yeah.
And two things happened after that are important, and especially if any kids are listening. Lindholm doesn't coast off. He busts his ass to get off the ice. After he said he makes that cross ice pass from the right wing side to all the way full cross ice to the left. And then Mark McLaughlin doesn't he doesn't coast into the play either. He busts his ass, screaming off the bench, so to speak, coming in from the bench into the offensive zone. And then, as Razor described, Marchand holding on to it. The rest is history, as Mark McLaughlin ends up getting it. Huge smile on his face. All this kid does is score, Razor, when he comes up now, or when he gets his opportunity
6 goals,
in the NHL.
22 games, no assists. Most importantly, no assists. He just scores.
6-0 at that time. All right, so the Boston Bruins tie the game up in the third, 3-3, and then they go on to have a really, really good third period. They dominated at times. And again, I go back to, in particular, the Sacco line was outstanding. I had some numbers for them, and I hope I didn't close it off, because, I don't always go into, natural stat trick. Here you go. Morgan Geeky, Pavel Sacco, David Pastrnak. They out-attempted the opponent 22-11 in this game, 11-5 scoring chances in this game as well. They just really did a ton of good. I beg your pardon. It was 13-4 were the scoring chances for, and then 7-3 high dangers. I thought they were excellent, rotating around, getting after it. And the Bruins dominated the third, and they got the point. You had to feel good about it, but you had a little bit of a, could this be what happened in Boston when Calgary had the lead and Boston came back? But before we get to the overtime, because the overtime is what we'll talk about here, I want to touch on our sponsors real quick. I want to touch on RTN and tell you about Graciano Construction. Let's start with Graciano Construction. Graciano Construction, Razor, is the place that you can go if you want to refresh and revitalize your space, whatever that space may be. whether it's your bedroom, your bathrooms, your kitchens, your garages even. Hey, they'll even paint for you. They do it all. Check out Doug Graciano at 508-330-7589 or GracianoConstruction.com. They make doing home projects actually seem like fun. You can trust them. Reach out to Doug Graciano, GracianoConstruction.com. Get yourself a connection with him. You will love it. Trust me, you will love it. Speaking of loving it, RTN Realty, if you want to look to move or sell, buy or lease a place in Mass, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, you got to check out RTN Realty. Chris Gentile and his staff of 16, they've got you covered. RTNRealty.com or email Chris directly, CGENTILE at RTNRealty.com, 617-835-0845. The real estate market, as everybody knows in this area, is ever changing. You need someone you can trust and you can rely on and will do what you want, not what they want. Check out RTNRealty.com and tell them Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor suggested them. All right. Thank you to our sponsors. All right. So let's go to overtime. In fact, let's bring up the Apex most entertaining moment of the game. How about David Pastrnak in the overtime? And it was more than just the goal that was entertaining. It's what led up to the goal. I'll let you describe it. In overtime, the Bruins they'd had good puck possession chances, but around the 4-minute mark or so is when this all started, Razor.
They were the better team in overtime as well. I agree. They had the opportunities, few of the better chances, but it was pretty tight. No one really opened it up. Not a full-on 2-on-1 at any point through 4 minutes. And David and Zach Pavel were out there a long time, along with Charlie McAvoy. They had control. They lost control behind the net, and from about the hash marks, both guys had to go all out to get back into the play, on top of Charlie McAvoy having to go pretty hard as well. So they spent a lot of energy, but they did a great job closing out Calgary over the blue line and regained possession after 35, 40 seconds, plus the long sprint down the ice. Come up the ice, Charlie McAvoy holds it, Pavel Zacha changes. David looks like he's going to change or wants to change. He's going to allow he's going to allow Charlie McAvoy to curl. He goes about to go to the bench, but Charlie just drops it right at his feet. Just leaves it there for him. Not sure if there was actual communication on the ice. I'm sure there was of some kind. And David picks it up, and all of a sudden the seat parts just enough where Rasmus Andersson gets bad gap, almost because of the way McAvoy delayed at the blue line. Anderson didn't stop and re-gap. He just kind of kept drifting, and that gave David room. Cuts in down the right side, opens his hands, gets Wolf moving a little bit to his left, and rips it off the right goalpost back against the grain, and game over. It's a special play by one of the few guys in the world that can pull that off.
Yeah, it really is. And you could see that he had that little hesitation, like you said, before McAvoy left the puck for him in the neutral zone, that he wanted to get off. And as soon as he saw that the puck was right next to his stick, he's like, oh, shit, I better take this puck and now do something with it. But you could also see him almost simultaneously get energized from it. Yeah. Like he said, F it, let's go. And he takes it. And as you said, he goes to the right. There's a little shoulder hand movement. And from a goalie's perspective, the stick blade moves. That gets Dustin Wolf to move just a little bit further to the left than I think he wants. He's a very active netminder. Young kid, very athletic, only 6 foot, looks tiny compared to all the new age goaltenders out there. I know he's explosive. I know he's quick and sharp and all that. And he's had a great season so far. But I think like you said, he absolutely bit on a sniper that got him an all-star, that got him moving.
Yeah, he did. And again, Rasmus Andersson didn't have good gap either. He shouldn't really allow Pasta to shoot back against the grain that easily. Like as a goal, you want the defenseman to close out and keep forcing him wide, not let that puck get back to the midline. So he does that as well. But just such a tough play. And again, there was one guy out on the ice that can make that play tonight, and it was 88, and he pulled it off.
Check out Apex Entertainment. in Marlboro, 100,000 square feet of pure fun, and that's the apex most entertaining moment of the game. I'll tell you what else was entertaining in this game, Razor, as we look at just a couple of other things on this very late night morning brew with Jaffe and Razor. The faceoffs for the Boston Bruins. 11 for 11 in the first period. I don't think we'd seen that this season. We've seen players go undefeated, but not a team completely. They went 100% effectiveness in the first period. Pretty damn good in the second period, too. They went 14 out of 16. So they won 25, right? Like in
25-7, right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Crazy.
And then the third period, they were bad. They went down to I'm sorry. They were at 8 of 15. I thought it said 8 wins, 15 losses. My bad. They were still at 53%. And the only time that they were under 50% is overtime.
They lost a couple in overtime, which
they
is
lost
annoying.
in overtime, but overall 68% in this game. John Beecher with another good game, 100%, 8 for 8 in the faceoff circle. Elias Lindholm had a great stat line in this game, 1 goal, 1 assist, 9 of 16 in the faceoff circle for 56%. All the guys did very well. And, sometimes I never think faceoffs are overrated. Never. I'm one of those guys that think they're important all the time, possession game, etc. This was a game that they did. They owned it an awful lot. And I haven't seen any post-game comments yet from Calgary, but I don't know if they'll mention that specifically, but they'll talk about not having the puck enough some second period on. A lot of it had to do with the faceoffs that the Bruins had. A couple of other things. Elias Lindholm, speaking of him, and Nikita Zadorov going back there. I know they'd gone back there as Vancouver Canucks. I think doesn't this got to feel different, though, going back as a Boston Bruin after signing a big deal with somewhere else? There's one thing getting traded, I'll call it temporarily, short term, or no, is this no big deal? Meaning they both went back as Canucks, so that made this a lot different for them, or didn't make that
I
big
think
of a deal.
Vancouver Calgary is as big a rival as you get. So they hate each other. So going to Vancouver would have been a big deal. Canadian media would have made that a big deal for Vancouver and Calgary's. And then Vancouver, of course, going down the stretch. So I think this one would have been more enjoyable for them. The fact that they were in Calgary for 3 or 4 days already too, so they get to see people, they get to see friends, they get to go to the old restaurants they go to, whereas in Vancouver you would have just been in and out. So I'm sure this one was a little bit more enjoyable for them, getting a little bit of visit time in, and also not having the hoopla quite the same as what it would have been last year at the end of the season for Vancouver and Calgary.
Okay, good stuff. I liked Elias Lindholm's comment after the first period.
Brutal.
His brutal. Lucky to be where we are. Can't get much worse. And he was awesome. Nets and Judd Surratt did an interview with him after the first period, and he was not happy. Again, he's not very overtly emotional, but that was pretty strong stuff coming from him right there. All right, so now the Bruins are 2-2 on a road trip. Again, that did not start well after getting throttled both in Winnipeg and Seattle. Now they win their last 2 games, and Calgary. And now you're going to take an Edmonton Oilers team on that should be very ready to play them after losing just their second time in the last 10 games. They lost last night, meaning Monday night, to the Florida Panthers in a crazy fun game to watch, 6-5. Always fun to watch. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard, who can bring it. But what are they going to get out of Stuart Skinner, assuming Stuart Skinner plays? And would we assume that Jeremy Swayman plays? I would. Would you as well? You're the goalie guy. Wouldn't you play him again?
Yeah. Swayman plays again for sure against Connor. That's a marquee matchup. That's a game you want to play in. So Sway's won 2 in a row. Let's go get 3 in a row.
Go get that. Come home on this Friday and feel pretty damn good about yourselves. But this should be a ton of fun. Not too much else to do from this game. Again, the first game this year, Razor, where the Bruins did not take one penalty. They were not shorthanded ones. That's awesome that they were able to do that. Obviously, very important. The power play, they get that one chance. Again, I think it was a lucky power play call or penalty call against Calgary. But the power play had a little bit of looks. I don't remember the exact number of attempts, but it was okay. Meanwhile, Jeremy Swayman made it maybe his best save on the opportunity at the end of the PK for the Calgary Flames on the Peltier, kind of a breakaway.
Yeah, I had the breakaway or partial breakaway, bobbled it a little bit, which again made that play a little bit more difficult because he did bobble it. It wasn't a clean backhand, and good timely save, of course, anytime it's a shorthanded power play. But yeah, it was just, I mean, again, nice for Sway, get a couple wins in a row, and he hopefully starts building from that.
All right. Let's hope that we can get out of here quickly, get some rest. Good job, buddy. RC, thanks for staying up with us. We got it covered. Folks, we will be back with you for the next Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor after Thursday's game. One more late night for us. Razor, good stuff, man. Did I even get one yawn out of you or no?
I had two, but it was like pretty. It's not horrible right now. It's not horrible. So
we run through this one. RC, we're going to hand this off to you. The man, the myth, the legend that is RC is going to cut and paste or clip or whatever he does and get this one out for early in the morning. Boston Bruins win over the Calgary Flames in overtime, 4-3. A very exciting game. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, go check it out, at least the condensed version. You can check out NHL.com or go to Nesson and check out the highlights there. We'll be back with you after Thursday's game as the Boston Bruins have one more game on this 5-game roadie. They head to Edmonton to take on the Edmonton Oilers. Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor will be with you after that game. Everybody, enjoy your day. Enjoy your coffee. Your Bruins win again.